Hello students, in the last session we have started with a new topic, that is JavaScript. In today's session we will continue our discussion of introduction to JavaScript. So let's start. Event driven computation of JavaScript. JavaScript, it is also an event driven programming language like the Java programming language, or like the languages which are based on .NET, like your C# .NET and other .NET programming languages. Event driven in the sense it is capable of handling events, like a user clicks the mouse button, some events are generated. Those events can be handled in JavaScript, and that is the reason it is called as event driven programming language. In JavaScript, the actions are often executed in response to actions of users of documents, like the mouse clicks and form submission. So often we execute some set of code in response to the actions of the user, like user clicking a mouse button or user submitting the form data. This form of computation supports user interaction through the XHTML form elements on the client display. Now, user interaction generally here it is through XHTML form elements. JavaScripts do not have its own visual elements. So in the web page, the visual elements are displayed by XHTML or HTML, and these visual elements generates events, and these events can be handled by using JavaScript code. Like you can take an example of a XHTML button, and whenever you click on a button, it may generate a click event, and upon the click event we can execute a JavaScript code. One of the common uses of JavaScript is to check the values provided in the forms by user to determine whether the values are sensible. So this is one of the uses of JavaScript, to validate the values which have been provided in the input boxes. For example, if you're creating a form, say a registration form, this registration form includes some widgets like a text widget and other widgets, and user is supposed to enter the values in those widgets. The values which are entered by the users in the widgets may not always the correct values. Suppose if there is a widget, say text widget, which is used to enter a mobile number, and in case of mobile number, suppose by mistake a user types an alphabet, so that is not a correct value, right? Mobile number should include all 10-digit numbers. So we can verify the value which has been entered in the text field by using a JavaScript. Without using a JavaScript on the client side, the same can be done, but for this the values needs to be sent to the server. So values are entered in the form and you will be clicking on the submit button, so the data, value data, is sent to the server, and server checks it, and if server finds anything wrong in that, it sends it back and the error is displayed. But if you look at this communication, the data, even though the data is not correct, the data has to be sent to the server on the network, which increases the traffic on the network, because data has to travel from the network to the server, and again the server is sending back because the data is wrong. Server is sending back the data and the messages to the client, and again it travels through the network and reaches the client. So this communication, the data which is totally wrong, We are unnecessarily sending to the server, and that is increasing the traffic, and this can be reduced by using a client-side JavaScript. So what client-side JavaScript does, it checks the data before submitting it to the server. So data is checked on the client side, that is on the browser side only. So whenever we enter the data is verified by using a JavaScript, and only after proper or complete verification of data, whenever users clicks on submit button, the data is sent, and this time the data is sent in a correct form to the server. So that reduces the network traffic as well. Okay, so that is event driven computation. Java is event driven programming language or a scripting language. Browsers and XHTML or JavaScript documents. So JavaScript, it is executed on the browser. So we have server side JavaScript, we have client side JavaScript. So client side JavaScript, it is executed by the browser. So there is a relation between a browser and HTML and JavaScript document. So whenever a JavaScript is encountered in the document, that is HTML document, encountered in the HTML document, what the browser does, browser uses its JavaScript interpreter. Now there is a JavaScript interpreter installed in the browser, and most of today's browser have JavaScript interpreter inbuilt into it, and using which it can execute the script. So without this JavaScript interpreter, the browser is not able to execute the JavaScript, remember. So browser should have this JavaScript interpreter to execute the JavaScript, and it can detect this JavaScript because JavaScript we always include it inside a tag called as a style tag. We have seen it in the last example also. Whenever a browser finds a style tag, it considers the data inside it as a JavaScript code. Output from the script becomes the next markup to be rendered. Whatever the output the script generates, that is the next markup which has to be rendered by the browser. When the end of the script is reached, the browser goes back to reading the XHTML document and displaying its content. Now the document contains both, that is JavaScript and XHTML. So what browser does, if it detects a JavaScript, it executes it, and when it reaches at the end of a JavaScript, again it starts with the XHTML elements in the document. Now there are two different ways to embed JavaScript in an XHTML document. By two different ways we can add JavaScript into our XHTML document. One is called as implicit and another is called as explicit. So we can implicitly embed it or we can explicitly embed it. In case of explicit embedding, that means we are adding the JavaScript code directly into XHTML document, like we did in the last example program. Directly add the code inside the XHTML document, that is called as explicitly embedding the JavaScript code. So that is called as the JavaScript code physically resides in XHTML document. And another, that is implicit embedding. The JavaScript can be placed in its own file. So we can create a separate JavaScript file other than the HTML or XHTML file, like we did in case of external CSS files. External CSS, in case of CSS also it is inline, document and external. Inline and document both resides in the same HTML XHTML page. In case of external, it resides in a separate file and that is linked. Same like that, even in case of JavaScript, we can have a separate JavaScript file which can be linked to our HTML, XHTML document. Now separate from the XHTML document, we can create a separate file. This approach is called as implicit embedding, and this is called as implicit embedding. Has the advantage of hiding the script from browser user. Now this, why to have a separate JavaScript? One is this separation is helpful because this will be very useful to debug the JavaScript, because that is not mixed with the HTML code. Second and main most important advantage is hiding the script from the browser users. So the script is totally hidden from the browser user because it is a separate file which is separate from the HTML, XHTML document. So the browser user cannot see the document. The browser user can only see the link to a document, but the actual JavaScript file is not visible to them. This provides a security, because as it is not visible to them, they cannot make any modifications into it. So that is a security concern, and that can be tackled by using implicit embedding of JavaScript. When JavaScript are explicitly embedded, they can appear either in the part of an XHTML document, the head, or the body, depending on the purpose of the JavaScript. Now when we include a JavaScript in the HTML file, it can appear in two places. One is the head tag. Inside the head tag, again we can have a style tag and we can include it, or we can have it inside a body tag. Again inside a body we can have a style tag and we can include the JavaScript. So it can appear in two different places, either head or a body section of our document. That totally depends on the purpose for which we are using the JavaScript, and that we will see when we actually go through the example programs. Object orientation and JavaScript. As I've said, JavaScript, it is also object. I can say it is not object oriented, but it is object based language. JavaScript is object based language, and it supports prototype based inheritance. This is different from the class based inheritance which we have in other languages like Java, C++, and C#. So JavaScript supports prototype based inheritance because we cannot declare a class in JavaScript. We cannot declare a class, but we can have objects in JavaScript. Objects similar to the objects in the Java and C++ programming language. We can have objects even in JavaScript, but classes cannot be declared in JavaScript. Okay, without class based inheritance, JavaScript cannot support polymorphism as well. So there is no polymorphism concept supported by JavaScript. So there are different concepts of object oriented programming, and JavaScript also supports some of these concepts, and that is the reason it is called as object based language. Now JavaScript objects. In JavaScript, the objects are collection of properties. So objects are simply collection of properties which corresponds to the members of classes in Java and C++. Now objects contains properties, like in case of Java and C++ classes contains properties, that is the data property and a method property. Same way in JavaScript, the object contains the properties, that is data properties and the function or method property. As I've said, in JavaScript we cannot separately declare classes, so directly we can have objects with these properties and methods. Each property is either a data property or a function or method property. We can call it as a method or a function property. Data properties appear in two categories, that is primitive values and references to other objects. So there can be two different types of data which we can have in JavaScript objects. The data can be primitive values like our integer values, like floating values or any other values, or a data property can also be an object, or it can be a reference to another object. Okay, so that is JavaScript objects. Okay, with this we will stop here today. In the next session we will discuss the syntactic characteristics of JavaScript. So let's stop here. Thank you.